Welcome to Black Man's Corner. I'm Joey, your Keeping It Real guide, who today is going to leave the corner to take you on a different ride. Now, let me get into character, or more into character than I already am as Joey. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. All lives matter. When people react immediately to exclamations of Black Lives Matter with all lives matter, they should instead just also say unequivocally that they don't like or perhaps even hate Black people, or perhaps can't get behind Black lives mattering when it feels to them as if their lives don't. That's real. Oh, wait, like in the movie American History X, though, it could also be that they inherited bigotry from their daddy, who was racist AF. For those of you slang impaired, racist AF means racist as fudge. Now, don't hate the player. I'm trying not to be profane here. So, cut a Negro some slack, Jack or Jacqueline. I would have used racist as fox instead, but then every time I said racist as fox, it would feel incomplete unless I added news. For example, people that feel the need to reply, all lives matter, to Black Lives Matter are racist as fox news, that is. This isn't based upon just a response to Black Lives Matter alone. Like the Capitol Police officer said about the failed insurrection, it isn't just the hitman we need to hold accountable, but the person who sent the hitman too. So, Fox News' support for Trump's various untruthful spins or outright lies about Black Lives Matter, coupled with the GOP's, grand old parties, anti-vaccination rhetoric, which impact racially underrepresented communities greatly, positions Fox News as both Trump's hitman and, relative to his base, Fox News is the shot caller. Trump and Fox News both promoting a belief in the big lie fuels Republican-led states to guard against the reoccurrence of a victimless crime. That's right. The election fraud found by the DOJ was smaller than Fox News' Black viewership. Think about it. After all, if even a teeny weeny amount of voter fraud was found, it would have encouraged the GOP's reinvigorated effort at voting suppression, essentially an effort to oppress anyone who dares to speak truth to power, challenging universally known truths as fake news. Haven't you figured it out yet? It's not fake news. It's Fox News, which is why it's not screwed up, it's fucked up. Especially considering the fact that Fox News is seen as perpetually divisive along racial lines. Ironically, the 36th president of the United States anticipated the existence of a promoter of propaganda like MAGA's media's Fox News. U.S. President LBJ once said, and I quote, "If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you." End quote. Much of Fox's viewership makes up the demographic group LBJ is speaking about. Fox News is the pickpocket. Racially underrepresented people, the LGBTQ community, and anyone who stands against or counter to Trump's woes or woe is me narratives are the ones looked down on by the MAGA minions, who unfortunately fit LBJ's description of the lowest white men who have been convinced they are at least better than the blacks. So, yes, I fully endorse the general perspective emanating from woke black folk. Fox News is as racist as Britney Spears' dad was manipulative. Just because you didn't know, perhaps because you hadn't really paid attention, doesn't alter the fact that it's real. Now, you and I, know that prematurely labeling others isn't cool, right? And trying to label others by gradations is a little crazy. So then why do it? I once had a friend who, after visiting my first home, described it weeks later to a group of our mutual friends with me present as a nice little place. What the Fox News, that is, I initially thought. Then I refrained myself from blurting out, how the Fox News, that is my house little when it is sizably larger than yours? Instead, though, I coolly asked, so what was little about it? His, huh? Might as well have been a duh. But what about statements like, she's a little rude? They are a little paranoid. Isn't that like saying she's a little pregnant? Something someone says to protect themselves from having not worn protection? She's a little rude really means she is rude enough to be chastised, but not enough to get foxed up. They are a little paranoid means they are paranoid because they're gay and of color, and anyone not understanding why would be either a little naive or straight up ignorant to not understand why. When someone says, I'm a little paranoid, they're owning being paranoid and yet somehow bragging about being in control of their anxiety and maybe is anxious since they know they foxed up. So, from this point forward, when it's said that someone is acting racist as Fox News, that is, perhaps you'll see it clearer. Fox News is nonetheless comfortable positioning poor, disenfranchised whites to accept the needs of the wealthy white elite on their impoverished, if not destitute, necks. They know they can count on the Republican scoundrels elected with the help of Fox News to assist them in covering up their exploitation of an easily deceived base. Paranoia and some twisted sense of privilege have empowered dissatisfied, disrespected, disenfranchised, disturbed white folks. Yes, white folk who have been thoroughly dissed. To resist, if not outright hate anyone with a differing paint job. People truly in the know that when Black Lives Matter is proclaimed, it literally includes all lives matter, since all life began in Africa, the cradle of civilization, and no other land than the motherland, which means that white folk are really black too. Just really light-skinned Negroes caught up in their own internalized oppression and not knowing what else to do with their self-hatred. So, go tell that to your MAGA hat-wearing, Trump-loving, patriotic posturing, vote-denying, partially, if not completely knowing, lying uncles and aunts. Please, when you do that, holler back at me afterwards and let me know what they said. I'll ask you again to like my video and subscribe to my channel, especially now that you're at the end of the video and now know that you were smiling, chuckling, thinking, or caring, and realize you would welcome more sooner than later. As always, Black Man's Corner is always receptive to a visit from you. Power to the people.